man. What are you doing here?
Wow.
I know. I just thought I'd drop in for some super delicious
Trixie.
beer.
Oh, right
Wow.
on.
Okay. Well,
We were
it
just
just
sitting
so
around.
happens that we have some super
Yay.
delicious beer.
Wow.
Ooh, all right.
Cheers.
All right.
Cheers. All
So-
right.
Day drinking with Shag.
Yeah.
Episode
9.
9.
Number
Ooh,
9.
Number 9.
Number 9.
9.
Yes.
You know,
2 left in it. Season 1.
I don't want to have to say it again, but they never said we'd get to 7.
Actually, I never said you'd never get to 7.
Yeah.
So, hey, we have a guest today.
Me.
Woo!
And before we introduce you, I just want to know, do you have an alter ego name?
Many.
Many?
Many.
Oh,
Many, plenty.
what's your
Any you can
shag
share in
name?
this jurisdiction?
Certainly. Sparky Williams.
Sparky
Sparky
Williams.
Williams.
Hey,
All
Sparky.
right,
All right,
Sparky.
Sparky.
Sparky
I'm
Williams.
liking it. That's excellent. Yeah.
Now, you performed with us at the last Freakers Ball, but you had a pseudonym that was much freakier.
Well, that was because it was the freak ball.
Right. So
Yeah.
okay. But it was Sparky Williams, and it just goes to show what a good nom de plume can do for you.
Yes.
That's right.
You
Well,
did not
yeah.
strike me as a Sparky Williams at the
No,
Freakers Ball.
Sparky batted a 371 RBI for the Mets back in
100%.
'93.
Yeah.
That's right. That was another life. I enjoyed it, though.
Sweet.
All right.
Yeah. Sparky. I've
Yes.
known you for like a million years.
100 million.
I know. Yeah.
As long as it's been.
Do you care to tell how Sparky and Trixie happen to know each other?
Wow, it's wonderful. I know your older brother.
My older brother.
Yes. Yes. We played in a band together
Uh-huh.
in the 80s.
That is correct.
In the
Yeah.
80s. Wow.
And I was
Not the
gonna.
wankers, though.
I guess
Not
I'm
the
dating
wankers.
myself. No,
You
no.
you were not a wanker.
No, that was
No,
post.
he's
Uh,
post wanker.
I always dreamed of being a wanker.
He was in the punk band and I was in the prog art rock band.
Oh, okay. What were you playing in the like? No, I know. Oh, sorry, everyone. Sparky Williams is a drummer, an excellent drummer. So
Wow,
not what were
let's
you
not get carried
playing?
away.
Not what were you playing, but what music were you playing in the?
Oh, back in the day?
Yeah.
Oh, it was great. It was a lot of Rush, a lot of Max Webster, Genesis, yes.
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin,
Nice.
all the stuff of the
Nice,
day, right?
nice.
Queen,
All the
Yeah.
hard stuff.
all
Yeah.
the good stuff,
Yeah.
yeah. And then we had to kind of merge because the times were changing, so we started playing, Cheap Trick, The Cars, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
3-minute
yeah.
songs as opposed to like half
Yeah.
albums.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That
Because
are
no one can dance to
one
7/4.
giant song all merged into kind of one movements, kind of like classical music, right? That's what I sort of liked about prog rock. Yeah.
The dance floor kind
Love
of
it.
cleared when we played Close to the Edge. I don't
Yeah,
know why.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But they sat there and appreciated it, right?
Possibly. We're not really sure. It was kind of sparse out there.
So
Hey, Skinner!
yeah, Freebird.
Yeah.
So then you meet New Wave Dave,
Yes.
my brother,
That's right.
who is in the Mad Shadows.
Yeah. New
and,
Beats and then
and
Mad
they
Shadows.
were the New Beats, then the Mad Shadows. And they had put out an album of originals, but I know when they started, they were doing all covers, right?
That's right.
So now, when you joined them, were they still doing covers at the time, or was it like a mix between the two?
Probably 80-20. Dave was a good writer, and he, on
Yeah.
the dance floor.
Yeah. Because I remember he has a million stories. One day we'll have him on the podcast. But, just in terms of like back in the day in the 80s, like the popularity of a cover band was just huge. Like it was huge.
Things were completely different then, and I'd like to share that because the entertainment pie was different in that what did you do when you went out? Mm-hmm. I mean, people didn't stay at home. There was no Netflix. There was no Blockbuster. There was none of that.
Yeah.
So what people did for their entertainment was, especially in Vancouver, you had pretty much two choices. You would go see a band,
Yeah.
or maybe go see a stripper.
Right.
Really, honestly.
Or on a good night boat.
Yeah.
And they really did merge a lot, especially in the scene here in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And sports wasn't as big as it was in the day. No one had a
interesting.
VCR.
Right.
Cable was really relatively still quite new. The multi-channel universe didn't happen. So the entertainment value was really garnered by entertainment, live entertainment.
Right.
And that's why a band could play for 6 nights a week, right?
Yeah.
And clubs, the money was there, right?
Yeah.
And bands were being paid. People went out, and there was no drinking
Yeah.
and driving things. The money for cost to actually buy a beer was cheaper. So everything was better in
Right.
that regard, right? And there was nothing competing with it. Then
Yeah.
what happened was people got older. People started having kids, started cocooning,
Right.
staying at home,
Right.
watching the video, staying at home, buying
Yeah.
their own beer, don't drink and drive. And that had a big impact on clubs because there was
Right.
not the support of,
Yeah.
of live music.
Yeah.
And so that started to kind of dissipate as well. And music changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
music
Yeah.
changed
Well, it
radically.
certainly did too, right? Just in terms of like, being able to just play cover songs, I think anything from previous to the 80s was, I don't want to say a lot easier, but just instrumentally, like you didn't have a lot of processed popular music at that time, right? So, in comes the 80s with a bunch of drum machines and it's like, oh, okay, this is going to be hard to reproduce live.
We
right?
did, though. Yeah,
Yeah.
that did. I mean, that was one aspect of it, that, especially in the dance music scene, which is fine. But cover music was still really wide open.
Yeah.
And just on that note, what I think happened personally is that in the 90s, when we had the influx of the Seattle scene and that whole Seattle sound, it also merged with a lot of bands deciding not to be cover bands, but wanting to be original bands.
Right.
And there was some good original bands, but there was also a lot of not good original shoegazing bands. And so the entertainment value really took a nosedive too, because
Right.
back in the 80s, it was an event to go see a band. Bands would dress up, there was lights, it was like, in your face. And then cover bands to go see a shoegazing band.
Yeah.
The music might have been great, but the
Yeah.
entertainment value certainly wasn't
Yeah.
the same kind
Yeah.
of thing, right?
Yeah.
But having said that, younger people stopped being cover bands. They wanted to play original, which is great, but there was just no new blood in the cover band circuit, right?
Right.
And that, along with what I mentioned earlier, which was, the decrease of popularity, and then, there was also a big movement in the hip hop world and dance music, electronic dance music and rap music,
Yeah.
and clubs. And bar owners finally said, why should I pay a band? when I
Well,
can
and
hire a
also
DJ?"
you bring in all that the EDM stuff, and ecstasy hits the scene, right? And people aren't drinking booze,
This is true,
right?
yeah.
And they're drinking water,
Yeah.
right? So you're going to a bar, and now the cash cow for the bar is like, what, you want a water? That's
Yeah.
not making me any money,
And
right?
at the same time, they brought in the anti-smoking in bars regulations,
Good point, yeah.
and all those smokers saying we can't go to the bars anymore.
Yeah.
Warehouse
Yeah.
shows started to
Right.
creep up, and
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
all these things kind of merged and converged, actually. Merged and converged. And that kind of, and 6 nights a week? No way.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
what now? So fast forward, we're talking 80s, late into 80s, into the 90s, 2000s. Music's changed. The whole thing's changed, right? Completely different demographic of kids that are growing up with different musical tastes. Understood, right? They don't want to listen to that.
Freebird.
Yeah.
and fewer venues,
And
right?
fewer venues.
So,
So it just
Yeah.
collapsed,
Yeah.
100%.
And why fewer venues? Because of rents, because of
Be-
real
Oh.
estate values.
Fewer-
I'm just talking
well,
about Vancouver.
because
here,
of
but-
COVID, because of
yeah.
all of the
Oh,
factors,
pre-COVID. Yeah,
there's more you can do in your homes now, right?
yeah.
We're
Yeah.
we're
Exactly.
into the cocoon phase.
We haven't even mentioned the
Matrix.
internet.
Yeah.
Which I was
Yeah.
going to say, shout out to the strip joints.
Yeah.
R.I.P. strip joints, because once the internet came along, that killed their business.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's multiple factors, right?
Yeah.
So those, and prior to that, I mean, our parents, what would they do? They want to go to the ballroom and dance. I mean, that's where the social network happened. Go out and go to a dance.
Yeah. Right.
And dancing was a big part of it.
So you have fewer venues
Yeah.
that are going to show live music. And with respect to what happened to cover bands and people starting to do their own music over that same time period, the technology to record yourself
100%.
went from being, when we started out, it was like, can we get a couple $1,000s together and go rent a studio and maybe lay down two
Exactly.
tracks?
Yeah.
And now you can do a whole album,
Exactly.
at home.
Yeah.
Off
yeah,
GarageBand.
100%.
Right. So why, the entry point to being an original band
Yeah.
is way lower.
Yeah, 100%. And it put a good side of that was that it put the creative creativity in the artist's hands as opposed to being dictated by what it was previously, right?
Which is a good thing.
Yeah,
And if there's fewer venues, then they're going to go, well, we'll do the original guys.
Yeah.
We've talked about this previous shows. Yeah. It's hard if you're not a bar band to book a venue sometimes if you don't do originals.
Well, or like you were saying before too, I'm going to get this DJ to come in who's got like a couple of turntables and like a backpack, right? I'm going to pay him a couple $100 and I'm not going to have all the drama that bands can bring,
right?
You know?
Yeah.
And it's one
DJ
guy.
Boss Ross.
DJ
all
Boss
your
Ross.
DJing needs.
Yeah. Shout out to DJ Boss Ross.
Yeah.
friend
and
of the show.
Equipment and time, right? Because that's the other thing, right? Is like you have a DJ who shows up, he can show up like an hour before, set up his stuff. You get an 8-piece 10-piece band, they need to be there for sound check, which means you need to have someone from your staff there to let them in. You're having to pay your staff. Plus, you might, if you're a venue that has your own sound person, then you know, like you got to pay your sound guy for all those hours as well, right?
Yeah, man. And bass players having mental difficulties.
Wow.
As they do.
I wanted to bring up something though. So the 6 nights a week kind of thing, as you can tell, kind of diminished. What's interesting though, there's one bar in Vancouver, the Roxy. Yeah. Which has consistently had live music 6 nights a week forever. And so my thought was always, well, this is a perfect model. Why isn't it being duplicated?
I don't know. It is. Do you have
I do not have an answer.
Do you postulate an answer for that?
No,
because
no
I would love to know. Because and I will say, shout out to the Roxy. We've had the good fortune of playing there.
Yeah.
A
Cheers,
few
Roxy.
times. Cheers to the Roxy.
Have us back.
Yeah. And
despite ruining all those NHL careers,
they are. So for anyone who doesn't know,
another shout out.
It's also infamous for having NHL players come and party there, and then the next day they have to play, and it's called the Roxy Flu.
That's what it is.
And in the world of hockey, it's called playing guilty.
Yeah.
But I have to say, the Roxy is awesome in terms of communication, in terms of they're just very clear about everything. You're in, you're out, you get paid, boom, just like that. They're excellent that way. Staff's super professional. They're great. And that place fills up and you've got an audience. Like, it's great. I love it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just want to talk about one thing. So the bar scene kind of died, but what also happened with cover bands is they kind of morphed into a different thing, which is the corporate bands. And I was in one of them. Incredibly lucrative.
What band was that one?
Faith and Desire.
Oh, right. Okay.
Incredibly lucrative, and there's lots of bands in Vancouver. And so that cover scene has shifted into a different demographic. And that demographic are obviously people that are, 30, 40, 50, older, that grew up with going to bars, and they still want to have a band at their corporate event.
Well, and there's like that model, another Vancouver band like that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Famous Players.
Famous Players is one.
I think they actually have multiple players, so that if they could also be playing in 2 places in one night, I think, right? Because they can have here's our 3-person band, here's our 8-person band, here's our we've got 3 bass players and 4 drummers, right?
That was kind of also a side one thing, which was another band, and it's a longer story. But what happens is it's essentially a franchise,
right?
And they basically franchise their band and they play in multiple cities multiple times, and so that's just one step.
Well,
never thought of it.
That's where we're going next.
Well, we've talked about that in terms of when I lived in Japan in the 90s. There was a Motown band that was playing in Osaka and Tokyo on the same night.
There you go.
Because they've licensed the name.
Yeah.
And they just go out and the Harlem Globetrotters used to do that too.
Man, it's like the fog just lifted for me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's
it's a marketing campaign. It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So that's my point being is that's where cover bands became more. I don't know what the word would be.
Businesses?
Corporations.
Yeah.
Corporate.
They're
They
a
became
corporate
more
band
corporate.
playing
Yeah.
It's just that okay, well, I can't play 6 nights a week where I used to make this sum of money, but if I go play one event, I can make this amount of money, right?
Right.
So, and then the rest of the cover bands were kind of playing in pubs on the weekends.
Yeah.
Not making as much money as they should, but at least they're playing live music and that.
Yeah.
So you got that demographic still being supported. So
Right.
So, and the rest is probably younger kids that just want to go and listen to dance music.
And what I've noticed, like a lot of the bands that are doing the casino gigs that are still around, they've been doing it for 15 years.
Yeah.
You know, and so tough market to crack.
It is a hard market to get into, and it's, you know, I think a lot of it comes, like a lot of these corporate cover bands, they're managed by management companies too, right? Like they're not, you know, we're self-managed. We're just like phoning places up, like, hey, give us a gig. Come on, you know, we're great. Trust us. Yeah.
You guys have a great thing going because you're niche. You're not cookie cutter. You're completely different. It's like blue ocean, red ocean, and you guys are swimming
in the purple ocean.
It's great what you guys are doing. A lot better than, and it's unique, right? There's nothing like SHAG.
Well, I think,
Tell me.
You know,
you guys? No.
You know, it's interesting. So, you know, and we've talked about this before in other podcasts, but it's, I think for us, it comes down to, you know, it comes down to song choices, right? You want to pick those songs that are, you know, really fun. They got a lot of imagery about them. You can costume them up somehow. They're danceable. People can kind of sing along to them because they know the words somehow. And they're like, I haven't heard this song forever. You know, and you can pick lots of usual suspects, right? But, you know, and like we were talking about recently, and such a great song. Love it so much. Pink Pony Club by
Beautiful.
Chapel Roan.
Yeah, 100%.
Fantastic song. Super love it. But, you know, kind of after mulling it around, we actually saw like a couple of cover bands actually do it. And I'm like,
the minute we thought we were going to do it,
Yeah.
the next 3 bands we saw all did it. We went,
Understandably. It's a current pop hit, and so it makes sense. It's a beautiful song, though.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, but you know what's great about your band is there's no Don't Stop Believings, no Living on the Prayers, no Brown Eyed Girls, none of that.
And there never will be a Brown Eyed Girl.
So there you go. And that's the difference between cookie cutter, you know, corporate, and SHAG.
You know,
Sweet Home Alabama.
I got, no.
There's so much content you can, you know, watch.
There's so much, right? Like there's so much out there.
Yeah.
Like it's almost impossible to pick sometimes. And, you know, last night, we're in the car last night, and a song was on the radio that I went, I used to hate this song as a kid. And I went, but I think this would be a great SHAG song. Do You Think I'm Sexy, Rod Stewart?
100%.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
We used to do
Great
it.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
I love that song.
It's not played anymore, really.
No.
But we used to play it in Faith.
Yeah.
And it worked great.
I was like, I used to just hate it. And I was listening to his vocals last night, and I'm like, his vocals
a great
are
track.
I love
brilliant.
Rod Stewart. I saw him do that tour in the 70s, I guess it was. And he was phenomenal. Like, it blew me away. Yeah. I didn't really want to go see, you know, the show as much, but he was throwing his mic stand in the air, like, further than anyone. Like, I think Rod Stewart is the king of the mic stand.
The mic thrown up in the air thing?
Yeah, whole stand.
Oh, the whole stand.
The whole stand. Like, you'll watch his, but if you watch old Faces videos, all of the original guys learned how to stay away from Rod. You know, there's a zone, the Rod zone. You know?
He was an exceptional athlete.
I used to tell everybody in my last band, just don't ever go behind me, because the one move I had was to jump backwards unexpectedly. You know, you take out a bass player occasionally. It's
into the drum kit.
Rod's kid is, or at least was, a top-notch hockey player.
Oh, really?
I believe actually drafted to the NHL.
Wow.
There you go.
Not soccer.
Not a soccer like the old man.
Yeah. See, hockey will always wind its way somehow into this podcast. I actually seem to recall I went to maybe high school with your cousin.
Yes, my younger cousin.
What was his name again? Steve. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Steve Lashin. Oh, whoop.
Steve Lashin. That's right.
Steve Lashin. Yeah. So I must have been in high school, I think, when I actually met you then. I think it was about then. So it's been a long time I've known you. Cheers. Yeah. It's been a long, short time. Yeah.
So now you're playing in a tribute band.
I am indeed.
Which is another evolution of kind of the process we've talked
great
about.
Point, Dave. That's true.
Why, thank you.
And you know, we've had corporate bands, we've had bar bands and stuff, and then tributes. Really big now. Like almost saturated.
Yeah.
Not entirely, but
I would say definitely occupying the larger end of the spectrum. Yeah.
And why is that? I'm just going to point
I postulate because I'm going to give you an answer to your rhetorical question.
That word again, postulate. The the postulation of Canada is.
I hope I'm using that word correctly. Somebody's going to email in and be like, your
postulation is all wrong.
You're canceled.
Yeah.
I think you know what that means.
My theory is because it is so ridiculously expensive to see these monolithic behemoth bands that people are like, and they want to harken back to because they're usually tribute bands tend to be. I haven't seen any Taylor Swift tribute bands. They tend to be kind of the older bands, AC/DC or Led Zeppelin or
classic rock,
Beatles, Pink Floyd, whatever. So I think it's people want to harken back to their days of youth, but they also can't afford the big tickets, and you have your band that you loved from your youth, and you want to go see them play.
I mean, the difference is, right, you're getting the deep cuts or the deeper cuts in a tribute band than
that's
just
true.
the
Than
top
just
40
the hits.
hits that a cover band will tend to play.
And then there's also just the fun of seeing how close you can get to pulling this off. Like I remember, years and years ago, there was this great Van Halen tribute band called the Atomic Punks, and like personally, as a huge Van Halen fan, I want to see how close are you to Dave, how close are you to Ed, how close are you to Al. Right. These are tough musical jobs to pull off, and for Dave, just the showmanship and stuff like that. How much are you putting into this? Where I'm going to sit there and go, wow, guys. Pretty good, pretty close. Where you find an Eddie Van Halen guitar player, that's a tough one to pull off. And so that for me, it was almost as much of a, intrigue.
Right. I remember seeing back in the late 70s the first Beatlemania tour. And they were kind of like the first tribute band, I would say.
Beatlemania.
And
genius.
Yeah, I mean. And that was interesting because they did from the early Beatles to the late, it was an evolution of them, and they would change costuming and looks. And what they were saying, this is the first chance you ever get to see the Beatles songs performed live, because they had the synthesizers and they had all of the things that the Beatles couldn't recreate. Right. You can't do Abbey Road. You can't do Sgt. Pepper's. You can't do.
We're better than the Beatles.
You certainly can't do the White Album without computers. Although somehow they managed to create them without computers. But and interestingly, Apple sued. So Beatlemania from '77, it debuted actually for a month in Boston, and then moved to Broadway for 2 years. Did over 1,000 shows, and then went on tour till the mid '80s. But Apple finally, the Beatles went, these guys are just doing us, and we're not getting a penny out of this. They had no licensing, nothing. So the Beatles finally went, go on, pay us for being us and doing our songs. And then they finally shut it down in the mid '80s.
I know you sent us a case of beer last month, but that's not it's not going to cut it.
You don't see that too much anymore. In fact, the Queen thing that happened was endorsed by Queen. I saw it. It was
Bohemian
brilliant.
Queen, I think their name is. Is that them?
I've seen the Pink Floyd one. It was brilliant. But these are really high scale ones.
Brett Floyd.
Brett
Floyd.
Wow.
Yeah. I was sorry, just because what you were saying, sometimes it's really cool to see how close they can get. There's this one highly, highly endorsed Led Zeppelin tribute band called Get the Lead Out of Philly. Yeah. And I believe that actually Jimmy Page asked them to come and perform at one of his fundraising shows or whatever. Cool. So great endorsement. Yeah. They have a chick lead singer.
Nice. There you go. Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah, great.
Nicely done. Yeah. Thank you.
Shout out to my friends.
Those vocals, right?
Yeah. Shout out to my friends Mothership in Montreal, Quebec. Led Zeppelin tribute band. You should definitely go see.
All right.
Okay.
And while we're on the tribute thing, go to the original Elvis impersonators. I just want to shout out to the Penticton Elvis Festival, which happens every June, the 24th year in a row. I went to see it once back, probably early 2020s maybe, and had a great time. They have Elvis impersonators. They had a guy from the Memphis Mafia was there, and they just go around the world, tell Elvis stories.
I heard Elvis himself makes an appearance every year. Undercover.
He's one of the impersonators, but they don't.
He's hanging out with Jim Morrison.
Exactly.
Circle back to what you were saying. Okay, so the question was, why do you think they're so popular? Yeah. Mostly demographics.
Yeah.
Demographics, because when I was in the ABBA shows, 50 plus.
Oh, that's right. You were in an ABBA tribute band too.
And a couple
that's
different
right.
ABBAs and Celine Dion and Elton. All that you see, and you talked about that music from those eras, and you're right, 100%. That's the music. Led Zeppelin would be another one. Pink Floyd. But you touched on something that's really interesting. The first tribute you ever saw was the Beatles, which makes sense, right? Because it came up in the 60s and then tributes started in the 70s. But Elvis would have huge. I mean, tributes forever.
Elvis impersonators have been a thing since.
Exactly, right?
You can get married by Elvis.
Right. I did.
Yeah. Right.
Did you?
Honest to God.
Really?
At Burning Man.
Oh, the first time?
Yeah.
Now, do you remember who it was to?
Yeah.
It was to Bobby Fiasco.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, on the playa.
That's awesome.
No, it's a real thing.
No, so tributes are very popular right now. We're doing a Jimmy Buffett one as
so
Volcano. We had a great time.
Yeah. Okay, here's a fun question.
Yeah.
If you were putting a tribute band together, what would be your ultimate tribute band?
100% would be Toto.
Oh, Toto.
Oh. Wow.
I'd love to play their music. There's a band.
I want to be a singer in that band.
I'd like to be a guitar player in that band, but I need to get a lot better.
People probably need a couple.
Yeah.
They just cover it all. As me, it's a personal thing.
Yeah.
But they do pop, they do rock, they do. The arrangements are great. The musicianship's great. It's just like they're and they got such a diverse catalog. I mean, they were poo-pooed really early on because they're just studio musicians. Yeah, they're studio musicians, but it's beyond that. The orchestration that happens with the band. They have many albums that are great writing.
They, to me, always struck me as a happy medium between prog rock and pop. Right? It's right, like accessible progressive rock music, right? That you can actually
touch to it, but I know what you're saying.
Stick it into a 3-minute song and sell it on the radio.
Like, unlike prog, they're always playing in like 4/4 pretty much, right?
For the most part. I mean, there might be 6 or but that's not an odd time, but 7 occasionally. But they're not really. They're a rock band that are diverse.
Yeah.
Right?
Steve Lukather, one of the greatest. One of the greatest.
Look at the Prodigy. Like the Picaro family. Like I was lucky enough to go to Musicians Institute and have Jeff's father be one of my instructors.
Oh,
right?
Nice.
So you got all the Picaro families in there. You got David Page, who's incredible, and now you have Joseph Williams, whose father was John Williams, who's the major composer for almost everything in Hollywood. So there was this. And they grew up in a great time. Yeah. They grew up in a wonderful time to be able to release this music, right?
Yeah. I always, the vocals to me in Toto were just
huge.
Lovely.
Man, for me, it's more like just the songs and the arrangements, like Rosanna.
Yeah.
Nobody writes songs like that.
No.
Nobody.
Well, not anymore.
No. Yeah, that's what I mean.
But having said that, there's a lot of content out there now. There's a lot of great music. But you asked the question, what tribute would I? And that would be a hard one to.
It would.
But
Dash, what about you? What would be your ultimate fantasy band tribute band?
It varies over the years. I mean, it used to as a kid, it's always what's in your wheelhouse as a singer, right?
Yeah.
So as a kid, the easiest stuff, everyone wants to be in a Neil Diamond tribute band, right?
Sign me up.
Elvis, of course, when I was a kid, because I mean, anyone who's wanted to be a singer in a band, you want to be Elvis. I mean, how can you not want to be Elvis?
Not Tom Jones. Come on, man.
Wow.
The poor man's Elvis.
Google Tom Jones YouTube stuff from his show, like where he's got like their Janis Joplin beside him.
Wow.
And the two of them are going at it, and he's going toe to toe with
her. And he's
her.
drowning in lingerie.
It's wonderful. He's so vastly underrated. He's phenomenal. But I just like bands. I mean, I like what we're in now because I love playing great songs that have harmonies and stacked vocals and
musicality.
We're kind of a quasi multiple tribute band.
Well, we're not. The thing we do though is we don't feel like we
Bowie.
have to recreate the record, right?
Yeah.
Where I think what you were talking about is the idea of a tribute band. Kind of you want to recreate. For people, the illusion,
the experience.
Actually, I want to argue that there are bands that really want to do that and dress up and wear the wigs and stuff like that. There is another aspect of tribute bands, I guess ours is included in that just want to represent the music.
That's what I like.
And that's what we do. We don't. It's the honor of the music, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have to wear a wig.
I seem to remember when I saw the Jimmy Buffett show
Yes.
a couple weeks ago, and I don't remember which song it was, but you guys were like, "This is a song by Jimmy Buffett, but we're doing the version somebody else did." And I was
perhaps,
like,
yeah.
"Oh, that's cool."
Jimmy
Okay.
did a lot of covers, and
Yeah.
one of them that we do, which is one of my favorites, is Southern Cross. I think Stephen Stills wrote it. If I'm
I
not
think that's
mistaken.
what I'm hearing. Maybe
Yeah.
was what it
Yeah.
was. I
And
can't
there was
remember.
Rumba
Yeah.
Man, which was Jesse Winchester, and
Right.
another
Yeah.
guy, and so he
Right.
did covers, and
Yeah.
5 O'Clock Nowhere, which is Alan Jackson tune.
Right.
Lots of great covers.
Yeah.
That
Mhm.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
people covered Jimmy too.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah, yeah.
he was really successful. I
Yeah.
mean, when I started, I had played Margaritaville forever.
Yeah.
Right? I
Yeah.
know that song, but I didn't know any of his other catalog.
Yeah.
And so when I started researching it and learning all the materials, like, wow.
Yeah.
It
So
was-
many songs, right?
Exactly.
So many songs.
So many songs and so many
Yeah.
great writing songs. Like
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
Well, there's a thrash metal version of Cheeseburger in Paradise.
yeah. Really?
No,
No,
But there should be.
No,
There should
but-
be.
but
I-
the next time you and Twaco get together in the
Yeah.
studio.
yeah, maybe the next time Twaco and I get a jam session going.
Krash,
Funk
what's
returns.
what's your fantasy tribute band?
Like that I could be in?
Yeah, that you're the creator mastermind behind your fantasy tribute band.
Do I have fantasy musical powers?
It's gonna be yes,
If
you
you could
do.
pull
Oh,
off
okay,
yes,
okay.
you
in
do.
it,
Yeah.
Well, that's easy. I mean, okay. Well, there's two that'd be easy for
I'm
me.
gonna
and-
say, can I guess?
yeah, sure.
Association.
I can't, and the name escapes me because I've had too much
Apple juice.
Glenn Campbell.
the one with the guy that sings like Judas Priest. Is that
Oh
it?
yeah, Judas Priest. Yeah, yeah.
Would you do Judas
Cool.
Priest?
No, but
Yeah,
good
not
guess,
it?
but
Not
no.
it? Okay.
Yeah. No, like for Van Halen for sure.
Van Halen.
wow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
if
should've
I could,
known
if I could play Ed's parts, like that would be my dream come true.
Right,
Like, even,
okay.
You know,
Sure.
and then honestly, like
I bet you could,
AC/DC
though.
would be
Oh, yeah.
pretty cool too.
Totally.
Yeah.
I would,
Right.
man. Anybody out there who thinks that Angus Young isn't one of the greatest guitar players, give your head a shake. He's
Okay.
one of the greatest. It's
Great
just-
rock songwriters,
just
man.
unbelievable.
Great.
Yeah,
Solid.
and like the crowd's gonna be
Guitar
going
tone.
nuts, right? So those, I know.
Would
I
number
know.
3 be Kiss?
I know. Trixie does not like AC/DC, and it's just because we haven't had an opportunity to sit here and let me play some AC/DC songs for her.
From a girl's perspective, and
woman's
lots of
perspective.
girls are going to be like, I love AC/DC, and I'm like, fine, but they just seem so misogynistic and gross.
But
to
they
me.
are
Like,
It wasn't in the 70s.
And they are,
All
but
of
in
them,
but in
but
a
I-
grade 5 playground way, not
yes.
in a dangerous way, more of a like I saw her panties, like like it's not like it's very like innocent in a way, you know. They're dumb.
I
Australian
thought
guys.
you were going to say Kiss.
I almost was in a
That's
Kiss tribute
right.
band.
I
I
know.
actually.
For us.
And is it the
Yes.
one on your shirt?
Look at your shirt.
Yeah, look, see, that's my favorite Kiss tribute band
You
right
got
there.
it.
Hiss.
Misogyny.
You gotta-
Hiss.
I
Yeah, for the
know.
for
Yeah,
the for the
speaking of
for the
misogyny.
listeners out there, I'm wearing a Kiss
Kiss.
tribute band, but they're called Hiss, and they're all trash pandas. they're all dressed up as Kiss, but they're
That's
yeah,
so
they're
good.
Raccoons.
trash pandas.
They look like raccoons.
Yeah, that's
They
what a
do.
trash panda is.
Oh, serious. That's the first I've ever heard
And
of.
now you've learned
Get with the
something.
times, Sparky Williams.
Lesson
I know
of the
you've got an
day.
old timey baseball name, but come on.
They'll have an
Back in my day.
So yeah, I actually auditioned for a Kiss.
That's a good name for a band.
Yeah.
That was right. That's right. That was
Yeah.
right before
It
us.
was right before I joined
And
SHAG,
Thank
and
God.
so I love
for us.
Kiss. I love Kiss, and I love AC. Like I love Ace Frehley era, like early Kiss. You know,
Yeah.
like up until
Look it up.
even Look It Up's pretty good, but but then definitely not after that. Definitely not after that. But anyway, yeah. There's this local band, and they were
From whose
looking,
perspective are we speaking? I mean,
exactly.
it's maybe not misogynistic.
There's
Thank
Maybe
you.
it's
You finally got
enjoyable.
it. Yeah.
Maybe it's enjoyable.
a local Kiss
You go
tribute
both
was
ways.
looking
I like it.
for an Ace Frehley member, and I was like, oh my god, this would be so fun, and I think I could do it, and so I spent about 6 weeks, a month maybe, learning most of their catalog. Like
Mhm.
most of their catalog, and of course, like all the solos and all the fills and all the little bits and pieces, which just made me love Ace even more
Right.
than I ever did before. Like he was my first guitar hero,
Yeah.
as a kid. Like he was so many people's first guitar hero. And anyway, so I learned all this stuff. And we went in, and I really, at the end of the day, I spent 6 weeks so I could play for 2 hours with a Kiss tribute band. It was really fun. I didn't get the gig, which turned out probably to be a good. Like, it turned out to be, you know, everything works out for the best, right? Yeah. Everything works out for the best because I don't know how I'd feel after the 16th, 20th gig of like putting on the makeup and the costume and playing the songs. And these guys were also very much like, it's got to be exactly like you know, the thing, even like stage stuff and like movement on stage. That's too much of a box for me to be put into. So it worked out. But anyway, yeah, that was my brush with a tribute band.
Nice.
Until I can finally convince you guys to do a B-52 / David Bowie tribute.
Well, you know,
which we really
when those
should
casino
do.
corporate gigs come around.
Then we charge for 2 bands and we keep all the money. So, I got friends that are, you know, and I've listened to a little EDM myself, but a bunch of my friends listen to EDM. My lovely wife is an EDM fan. And sometimes I give them a hard time about how this music is, you know, it's great. I love it in the background. I love it when I'm standing in the desert, you know, but it's going to be forgotten, you know, like this is kind of ephemeral stuff. And then the next cool guy is going to come along and bump you and everything. Right. But there's bands that are going to be like timeless, you know, in my mind, like, you know, Yoda would say the future dark it is, you know, I don't know how things are going to go, but I think like 100 years from now, people are going to be listening to the Rolling Stones. I think 100 years from now, people are going to listen to Led Zeppelin.
Okay.
You know, I really do think that. And so the question is, if you think that in 100 years, like Led Zeppelin is still going to be like, man, that was cool music that those guys were making back in 1970, 100 years ago, right? Those dudes are long dead. Anybody that's seen them, long dead, right? Is there going to be a tribute band for Led Zeppelin?
I'm going to say yes, and here's why. So when you have songs that have a good, memorable hook line, chorus line to them, and that's the thing we always look for when we're picking a song is like, can people sing along to it in the audience, right? Do they know it? And I think that's what makes those kind of things stick. EDM, I don't know so much because there's nothing to remember. There's nothing to hook onto. Yeah. Like years later. I don't know.
Super melodic.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think it's a case of right or wrong. It's its own genre, right? And there's multiple genres. Just harking back to what you're saying, in the same way we're listening to composers that were around
Chopin
years ago.
Yeah, no lyrics.
Mozart.
Symphonies.
We're listening to the music of the 20s, the 30s, the Great American Songbook. I think we're going to, the Beatles definitely put a mark. The Rolling Stones did put a mark. There's going to be bands. I think, musicologists are going to be studying.
Yeah.
You know.
But are there going to be like 18-year-old kids still learning how to play the electric guitar, okay? Going like, I love the Rolling Stones. Like 100 years from now, no chance that anybody they know has ever seen them or anything. I wonder.
I used to worry that
is there still going to be an electric guitar?
That's the big question.
I used to be worried people weren't going to learn how to play harp. As a kid, I was worried that the harp was going to go extinct.
And your worries were well-founded.
No, if you go to really high-end hotels and weddings and there's always, this is the thing, and the women who play these harps will have beautiful evening gowns or princess dresses.
Yeah. As you're 100% right, but there's only 6 of them. They fly them around the world.
Like Andres Vollenwater was huge in the New Age movement with harp music. So. And Lorena McKenna. Yeah, McKenna. Yeah. There you go. So, I mean, again, niche, but valid. And EDM's valid. I love instrumental music. There's a band, and I'm going to shout out to this band because they're one of my favorite bands, which I discovered on Ricky Gervais's series Afterlife. Mm-hmm. The band's called Hammock. Listen to Hammock.
Okay.
Hammock. Love them.
I mean,
you've heard of shoegaze? They're stargaze.
They were a shoegazer band, but now they kind of merged into this ambient kind of orchestral music.
And they're really swinging, right?
That was such a dad joke.
The non-swinging hammock? This is the name of our first album.
That was such a dad joke. Oh my God, I love it.
Thank you.
2 dad jokes.
You're a great band. There's my shout out.
Right on.
To be fair, I'm not saying that, it's not good music, EDM or whatever. I am like,
I'll say it's not good
I'm
music.
like,
Somebody
apparently,
should.
according to
We gotta
Spotify,
have some controversy
I'm the 9,989th most listener of Brian Eno on the planet. So
Wow.
I don't know. Yeah, apparently. So
Godfather band.
I love, instrumental music and ambient music and whatever, right?
dynamic.
Huge fan. But
And if you filtered out all the people related to Brian Eno out of that list, you'd be way higher.
oh my Lord, he's got his hand in everything.
Yeah.
Like Brian Eno. He's on.
Oh my God.
He's in everything.
Yeah, it's
Name
crazy.
it. He's connected with that band. He's produced an album.
Oh, yeah,
He's
that I
coming.
agree.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I mean. He's got his hand in everything in terms
Thank
of
God.
all. The
Do you know?
music
You know
out
what else
there.
he's plastered all over?
Mm.
The New York Times crossword.
Really?
Yeah. If you got a 3-word question,
It's
a
Eno?
3-word answer, and it has anything to do with music,
It's Eno.
even the lead is ENO. Okay, that's a little tip for you, crossword lovers.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my God, so good. So, okay, you know what? Actually, our next episode is going to be about band dynamics and interpersonal relations.
If we make it to the next episode, if we don't get canceled,
Unless the
If we don't get
dynamics and
possible we
interpersonal
could.
relations break down.
But as someone who has played in many, many bands, what kind of thoughts would you have on that subject about, like, maybe sort of the most important things in terms of interpersonal band dynamics and how to keep a band together and how not to screw it up?
Wow. Big question. Well, it starts really with the people that you're playing with, right? And that's the biggest dynamic, right? Who's involved? What baggage they bring or don't bring? Is everybody connected and centered? And then the external forces that happen within that band. Let's say
Yoko Ono.
Don't blame Yoko. It wasn't her fault.
More on this in the next episode. You will get an entire history and tutorial on yes.
So if everyone's like-minded in the band and they're going that way, great. It'll probably work. Money is a big one, and that goes beyond just a cover band kind of thing. That goes
everything.
That's why U2 basically said, okay, we just split everything down the middle. Rush did the same thing. They early along they just said, okay, we just split everything, and that takes care of that, and then you just concentrate on the music. So if everyone's like in a cover band, obviously we're stepping down here. Everyone's should be being paid the same. That's one thing, but but
We don't pay the drummer.
good thing it didn't hire me. But there's reasons for that.
Yeah.
We shall discuss.
We're a non-profit organization.
That's right.
Yes.
NGO.
Yeah.
NPO. NBO. Non-government, non-band organization.
NBM, no band money.
Yeah.
Organization. NIMBO.
It all goes to the beer budget.
Exactly. No, sorry, we digress. But you know what? The biggest thing that will kill a band is complacency. If you don't keep on your game, and practice and bring new material and constantly keep rising, there are others beneath you that will rise to the top. So,
And people get bored too.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well,
you gotta keep it interesting.
Yeah, you got to keep it interesting.
I mean, like band members, like,
Yeah.
like it'll be like, okay, hey guys, we can't do it this Sunday. Well, next Sunday, Jimmy's got a wedding and whatever. And then next thing you know, it's like, well, it's been 3 months. We haven't had a rehearsal.
Yeah.
And actually
And
the keyboard
Bob
player's
gets
playing with these other
married.
dudes. Yeah. Next thing, right.
Yeah.
So that's, I think,
Yeah.
I'm 100% down with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So same, same mindset, same goals, same that'll keep it together.
Yeah.
And then that kind of keeps all the external forces at bay. But these things can kind of creep in, right? But the music should really be the priority, right? Everybody's enjoying what they're doing.
Yeah. That's it.
Really.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, so when you're on stage enjoying the music. So, and just to touch on that, like, I don't want to go play a pub for $100 if I hate the music. Like, screw that. But that said,
if someone asked you to come and do a bunch of Toto tunes, you'd be in there right away.
Exactly. Just because of the love of the music, right?
Yeah.
It's because schlepping out a drum set and setting it all up and doing all that, all the work, all the labor that goes into it has got to be juxtaposed.
Thank
you. With the love of the music, right? Otherwise, if it's just labor, it's like I don't. Oh,
that's all right. That's an adult show.
Shag that.
Right. So hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah, for sure. It's good stuff. We'll chat about.
Keep the interpersonal relationships at a minimum.
Yeah.
Fleetwood Mac, I'm looking at you.
Yeah. More on that in the next episode. Stay tuned.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Well, cool. It was awesome having you out. Thanks for
my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Cheers. Good.
Cheers. Looking forward to the next gig. I believe it's May 5th.
May 5th.
Day drinking. Day drinking. Day drinking with Shag the
And keep the interpersonal relationships at a minimum.
Yeah.
Fleetwood Mac, I'm looking at you.